Hey, welcome all my galactic brothers and sisters, the divine realms, and the earth people here. And my earth brothers and sisters, I appreciate you showing up this week and each and every week. Appreciate the likes, the comments, and all that you're providing me with. I appreciate it. Today we want to get into, which is Thursday, we're going to get into the realms of expanding consciousness. It is an interesting subject. It is vast, as vast as you can imagine, and I'll try to make it simple, or I'll try to reduce it in such a way that it's not too overcomplicated. I watched someone on the YouTube trying to explain some stuff about realms, aliens, and all this stuff, and they were walking all over themselves with trying to distinguish the words between level, plane, realms, dimensions. So in this video, I'll sort of break all that down and simplify it so it's not so difficult. Because once you get into the realms, you're never ending. You're always producing, collapsing, moving, revolving, evolving. You're always it's just energy unfolding itself. It's that unfolding itself, right, into this in many different ways. So, sort of what we'll look at is the realms of expanding consciousness. When I'm saying realms of expanding consciousness, it's sort of understanding that your consciousness, if you don't know what consciousness is, it's just the identity of who you are. And that's a simple version. If you want the psychological version, the spiritual or esoteric, look at those definitions, go look them up, because everyone has a different version of what conscious and subconscious and superconscious is. Because it depends on who you studied and who defined those words. So for me, consciousness is just a collection or the collective of ions from that, right? And when you're aware of that consciousness within you, then you understand that that is you, and so you're conscious of that. You're aware of yourself. Make sense? All right, and so we'll look at the protocols of not only understanding these planes, stages, gateways, portals, realms, all these words that we'll be using today, and sort of that there's a protocol, much like there is with sending information over the airwaves. Depending on the airway you have will depend on how much information you can send at one time. Make sense? Much like traffic, if you're always in a big metropolis, like downtown New York, traffic is always tight and you're not going to move very fast. But if you're on the outer skirts, you're going to move a lot faster. That makes sense? So in the realms, there's a protocol. We're all sort of in this collective inner city, and then our goal is to get out because it's slow and methodical and congested. And as we move out of the city, we move out into the broader rural areas that then we can move at faster paces. Makes sense? It's more spread out. So we'll look at our small ships. We talked about medium ship on Wednesday, and then we'll talk about larger ships, and then we'll talk about relationships. These ships are all in these different realms and dimensions. There's different vehicles, mechanical, biomechanical, electrical vehicles that can reshape themselves and move them into different dimensions, even to the point where you can see them. You can go out to the clouds and say, hey, show up for me. Right? And they'll show up. But do you have the vision to see them? Because they will alter themselves as needed. Right? And then they'll disappear back into another dimension. Look at realms and the dimensions and us coming into this existence from that, and then eventually understanding from this position, meaning here on Earth, that we then, once we understand that how we got here, then we can go back. Realms of expanding consciousness it's just understanding where you are, where you came from, and then how to get back there. Right? And then, so each one of these realms have ships, literal ships out there. Not always in the materialistic version or fashion that you may think, but they do have their own thickness or density. We're not going to get too far into that. It's just that each thing has a thickness, right? Different lemonade is a different consistency from frozen margaritas, and so on. So each thing has its own consistency. There's just a reason why the certain densities are important into understanding when you're in the realms you're in, or the dimensions, right? So each one of these ships you can contact once you open up and have a higher vibrating self-worth of yourself. If you see yourself in high esteem, then you'll be able to connect higher frequencies. Make sense? So we've shown this chart back in the early stages, but we need to revisit this, especially with the realms of expanding consciousness. Because initially, when you started questioning or questing ions and asking why, you brought the name in Yahweh, or Yeshua, or Yahuda, or Yahweh. It's the same thing as Yahweh, but some people believe if you pronounce it a certain way, you'll get a certain vibration. All that's great. God's not deaf. It understands all vibrations because it created all the vibrations. And again, the non-anthropomorphic God, the electrical God, right? The ionic God. And we'll understand that a little deeper as we go on. Right now, when you initiate, right, you become an initiate. Initiation is you're initiating ions, you're moving energy. It's not this big secret society of initiation, right? Again, we talk about all these different dimensions or degrees. They're just degrees on the spectrum of being able to open up fully, like a compass. You can open up to any degree, okay? But you have to have the vibratory energy in order to open up those doorways or gateways or veils and then be able to go through without harming yourself or bringing in low vibrating energy, much like bringing a stinky garbage can into newly vacuumed, freshly sprayed room. Right? It interrupts or disrupts the frequencies. So we talked about pyramid, or the pyramidal ship or mediumship in Wednesday's classes, but by understanding that, we have to understand our masculine side, our dominant side, our transmitting side, our authoritative side. This is all father energy. Right? And then we have to understand our feminine side, our nurturing side. Yes, male and females, you need to know both of them. And in addition to yourself. So once you have the nurturing energy and the receptivity, now you know how to transmit and receive ions. Right? And once you understand your mother and father issues, your literal psychological mother and father issues, if you have any, if not, their mother and father then we'll have you pray into a male or female God to finish up what you didn't get from them, or what your perception is that you didn't get from them that you somehow expected to get from them. Once you understand your masculine and feminine within each of you, you have to be both mental and heart. You have to be egoic and open-hearted or undefended. And once you understand your mother-father, then understanding those two will help you understand you, because it was you who wanted to understand you. So then you understood your father and mother. When those three came together, you're the neutral in between the positive and the negative. Positive and negative is not good or bad. It's just a pathway for electricity or ions to move. But we have to transmit them, then receive them. And then there has to be a neutral. Just like in your electricity, there's your positive, negative, neutral, and ground. And so by having these three, it actually grounds us here in Earth, which then gives us a better transmitting and receiving platform to go into the realms with. So once you understand, this actually creates the fire. You become the fire with y'all three together, the Trinity, this triune, y'all three come together, the energies, the two, male and female, produce an energy, and then when you integrate yours, then it creates a third entity, which this is your consciousness. And so what this does is transmit fire. So you're the fire in the middle, or the pyramid. And the pyramid is the basic building block of life. And then you understand where you are. And I'm not going to go into it right now. I'm just giving you an introduction into the realms of expanding consciousness. So once you understand who you are, then these triangles is the basic building block of the universe that comes out of that. And every shape in the universe can be created from the triangle or the Trinity. So, and we talked about the Trinity yesterday. For me, it's energy, electricity, and electromagnetism. And once those triangles come together, it creates a six-sided shape. And then once you understand that this is your past, this is your present, and this is your future, this is your spiritual, your mental, and your physical realm. When you understand this grid, we talked about this in the early classes, which why I said go back and study those, because we went over this already. And then each one of this, when you understand all of these planes of existence, your physical, mental, spiritual, your electrical, or your mechanical, chemical, and electrical, you then understand that this becomes a whole. This one whole then becomes over here as one whole. And then that opens you up to other realms and so on and so forth. And then you get into the main grid. And this is the secret grid I've been teaching since the first few videos. And I continue to teach and show because it is the basic building block that we're using to be able to not only be able to transmit, to receive energy, but also to expand our consciousness. And then once we have this, again, we go back to the basic shape over here that this triangle created. Right? These triangles came together, created a circle. This is the circle we talk about over here. And then all this creates, and this is the grid, and this is all the openness out here where you can create. And then as you can see, one of these circles just fit into one of these, but each one of these grids over here, just one little grid over here. Right? We'll go into that further later. But when you understand that just one of those big grids, or one of these big grids, is dimensional, which we'll get into later. But for right now, understanding the realms, we need to understand some definitions or define some of these ions. Right, so this is the electrical trinity part we talk about. The trinities are health, wealth, love, health, wealth, love, health, wealth, love. And they break down into 1 through 7, 8 through 14, and 15 through 21. Now, each one of these will equal 3, 6, and 9, and I'll show you that in a minute. And there are different dimensions, realms, and all that stuff, and they go into, we'll just call it into the thousands, millions, whatever. But it's still all based in 3, 6, 9. Because once you go 3 plus 6 is 9, 9 plus 3 is 12, 1 and 2 equal 3, and so on and so forth. Each one of these realms will always have health, wealth, and love in this. And then, so in the physical stage, which we'll get into later, is that in the physical stage you have health, wealth, love. In the mental stage, you also have a physical stage, which is also health, wealth, love. And in the mental stage, you also have health, wealth, and love. Right? In the spiritual, same thing. You're going to have health, wealth, and love. In the mental realm, you're going to have health, wealth, and love. In the spiritual realm, you'll have health, wealth, and love. Or the electrical, chemical, and mechanical. So in the mechanical, you're going to have spiritual, mental, and physical stages within that realm. And that sounds confusing. We'll break it down here in a minute. In the chemical realm, you'll also have spiritual, mental, and physical. In the electrical, you'll have spiritual, mental, physical, which each all have health, wealth, and love. Now, one of the things I want to show you is that in the physical realm, right, and that has the physical stages, what we're doing is we're preparing. We're preparing our transmitters and receivers, our mothers and our fathers, or our fathers and their mothers, as we discussed earlier. Father physical, mother mental, right? It sort of rhymes there. So we're preparing our transmitters and receivers, and we're building through the fire in the middle, which is you. We're actually building your antenna, which you can then transmit and receive from these higher realms. Right? You can talk to the other ships, the small ships, at first, and then the medium ship, you become the middle ground. You can communicate with those and translate it to here on Earth. And then we were part of the bigger ships, right? And then there's biggest ships, right? But that all gets complicated right now. And then we get into the pair. So we are pairing the transmitters or receivers, and actually in a dimensional fashion, we are beginning to transmit and receive. And then in the electrical realms, we're starting to repairing. So because there's galactic wars that happen, there were some dimensions and realms that were sort of damaged, and so we're helping repair those by upping our antenna, because we, from these galactic wars, ended up here on Earth, and now what we're doing is building our transmitters, our portals, our wormholes, so we can get back home, right? But in the physical realm, this mechanical realm, We have what we call trimensions. This is where we first learn about the Trinities, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Crone, Mother, Daughters, Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, and whatever mythology you have, there's always going to be this three. And this is where we're learning these three, because we're learning about men's ions in the Trinity, and eventually that Trinity becomes a dimension, which is just two-way communication. I don't need all these mediums in one sense, or preachers or pastors and stuff. Not in the traditional sense, not in the anthropomorphic or the doctrine or dogmatic or cult in the cultures, societies. And then we have dimensions which we can have direct communication. And this is sort of what the Reformation or reforming ions was during Martin Luther's days. Not Martin Luther King Jr., but Martin Luther, where the Reformation, we reformed the ions, saying that we don't need these people to get through to God. We can have our own communication, our own communion, right? Communicating ions with God. And then eventually this turns into man's ions. I know it may seem counterproductive that die should be in front of man, but this man's is not human. Human, H-U-E man, is we live in the 7 spectrum colors, red, orange, green, yellow, violet, all those. But man's ion is what the higher realms from which we come from, which we're made after. That's man's realm. That's capital M-A-N. And it's not male or female, right? It's just a known frequency. Just call it that for now. And so we end up with, in the physical realm, we end up with the triverse cities. So we have three-way communication, Father, Mother, you. And then we have the diverse, right? We become more diverse, right? We have this verse, again, serving. And diversity is that we understand that it's not about race, creed, color, it's about the energy within the shell. Right? I understand that in this realm, in the physical realm, the shell color is very important to some people. I get that. But in this in the chemical realm, it doesn't, right? And it's just, what is the frequency? We're all about frequency now. Do you have a animosity between 99, which is country, and 105, which is rock, and 93 or 96, which is rap? Do you hate these realms? Are you biased? Are you radio wavist? Do you not like the other radio waves? Right? So what's running all those different channels, or what's inside all your different colored shells, are just energy. The energy is all the same flavor, if you will, within. Right? Everyone bleeds red, if that makes sense. And so when we get into university, there is no multi-frequency. There's only just the one frequency. We're all on the same frequency, which is getting you to understand that we're all one. One frequency, one verse. We've diversified and we've triversified, right? And multiversified. And now we're finding our way back home. So in the mental, or in the mechanical realm, the physical realm, we're very myopic. Again, we see our differences. We're looking at our differences instead of understanding our universe frequency. And then in the mental realm, or in the chemical realm, we're synoptic. We get a bigger picture, but not yet the whole picture. And then the panoptic, we see the big picture. Right? Now we're understanding how we are the one. We understand how everything is connected. Nothing is disconnected. If there's a part of you if there's a part of your society that you don't like, that's a part of your inner society you don't like. Makes sense? If you're prejudiced, judgmental, then these things are you within. Right? And then for what reason are you judging yourself? Right? So hopefully this is making sense, guys. But we need this basic understanding. Now, let me go off screen here for a second. Is that in this physical, mechanical realm, it's all about I, me, me. We can put this up here. It feels weird me not being on screen. It's the I, me. It's with them. What's in it for me? I'm not going to do anything unless I know I can get something back. Right? Very egotistical, very scarcity mentality. I don't have enough, so I need to take from you, or I need to get something out of it. Right? So again, physical father, dominance, discipline. Now in the physical realm, we're just calling this a realm right now. The three stages equal a realm. Keep that in mind. So within these 3 stages, the lowest realm, or lowest frequency, is we look at everything as good and bad. Again, they are dichotomic. They are pugilistic. They're dyadic. They want to battle each other. They think they're separate. Right? Your left hand thinks it's separate from the right hand, right? But who's controlling both right and left hand? One brain, right? It may be two sides, but it's one brain. And then as we sort of enlighten ourselves a little bit more, we get a more, we go through a bunch of crap we don't want to, and we sort of look at the bigger picture, a small bigger picture. We see that we're still dealing with right and wrong. Well, your way's right, my way's wrong. Or my way's right, your way's wrong. Right? If you think your way's right through your own limited perception, your myopic perspective, then you're going to see that you're right through your vision and everything, that then by default everyone else is wrong. And that's sort of the limited perspectives we have right now that they're trying to push on our kids, is that if you don't believe this way, then you're automatically the other way. Right? This is just two sides of the coin. Right? But they don't understand yet that there's a third side, the outer rim. And so eventually in this we have religions and belief systems, fundamental systems, that the people believe there's gods and devils. Again, I'm not talking, this is the anthropomorphic man created this God and this devil. Right? But it's still, once we understand that, when we get beyond this, by understanding both the father and then the mother, right, it's low frequency words. Hate, I hate you. Right? It's not I love you yet, it's I hate you. You're wrong. You're an idiot. The powers that be hate us. They're all trying to kill us. Conspiracy. Negative conspiracy. Not the ones that are really out there that eventually come to light, and then it wasn't really a conspiracy. Again, the CIA created that word to discredit people who actually had the actual information. And then, so this is want, like, need, desires, wish, intent, affirm. Right? All these are low frequencies. Right? We're still in the father realm. Right? Very pugilistic mentality. And so if you're always saying, I want this, I like this, I need this, I desire this, in the low frequency desire, not present state to desired state, that's different. Intend, affirm, I intend this to happen. Intentions are great, guys, but if you're in a low frequency because you're trying to get something better, because you're still buying in that you're in a lower frequency, you're trying to get out of that. But we need to understand that you're not in the low frequency, you're just in a frequency. And all these are just frequencies: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, magenta, and clear. They're just frequencies on the radio spectrum. All right? So then we come into the mental realm. So once we expand beyond these, when we're expanding our consciousness through education, through discipline, through understanding, and going into triversity, into diversity, understanding diversity, respecting other cultures, understanding where the other people are coming from. It's not just necessarily about cultures or histories. It's about understanding where someone's coming from and being able to meet them in the middle. And that's what this is the middle realm. And sort of like a pyramid, this is the middle part of the pyramid. We have the apex, but we're in the middle of the pyramid. And just like the Grand Pyramid, or the Giza pyramids, there was an ascension you had to go through. Because in a triangle, the higher you go, the more frequencies bouncing back quicker, right? So it gets rapider or higher frequency. And as you went up into the pyramid to the king, queen's chamber, you were in the middle realm where you started getting your initiations in the higher degrees, right? In other words, you were beginning to handle more electricity coming into your shell from the divines. All right. So mental mother, submissive, nurturing, receptive. Middle frequency words, I choose. Right? I'm beginning to. I'm responsible. I'm responsible for my choices, my actions, my emotions, thoughts, all that good stuff. It's my choice now. I understand that it's my choice. Intention is intent ions. I'm intent on the ions. I understand ion energy now. It's just not wishful thinking or needing or trying to get out of what I don't want. I understand what I do want. This is what I don't want. This is what I do want. And I'm upgrading want into choice. I choose it. It's my choice for this thought. I'm choosing this thought to be negative. I'm choosing this thought to be positive. Because again, we see positive, negative. We're still in the physical stage in the mental realm, but the physical stage is still positive and negative. We're getting out of bad and good, because now we get out of these religions and get into mythologies. Right? We understand more diversity of different backgrounds of different religions, that there is no right or wrong religions, right? Because there's really no religion. There's just regulus ions. Right? It's just a different form of energy. And so here we become more into, people find Buddhism after Christianity, or they become more Hinduistic or Taoist, where they meditate. Here they understood prayer. Here's meditation. Here's transmitting. Here's receiving. Meditation is setting up and receiving what it is you just transmitted. Right? And then we'll go into the spiritual realm, or we'll go into, things are correct or incorrect. Where you're not wrong or right, it's just correct or incorrect, right? We're still using it. There's still this sort of tongue-in-cheek to it, of passive aggressiveness to it. You know, even when we say, well, that's not correct, you're really saying they're incorrect, right? Instead of saying, hey, I see that unique perception of yours, how about you explain it to me, right? And then there's light and shadow. So now we get into understanding that there's light and shadow, but light and shadow is just absent of light, or very little light. But now we're beginning to get into ionic understanding, ionic awareness, right? Cosmic flow, divine flow. And that's where we get into the spiritual realms, which has a physical stage, mental stage, spiritual, or mechanical, chemical, electrical. And so here we're joining Father, Mother, and you. I am. It's an I am statement. I am is also the statement for I am God, universe, that, Shambhala, hierarchy. I am. It's this dominant statement. You claim your ions. You claim your energy. It's very high frequency, so we demand, commit, dedication, discipline, appreciation. See the different verbiage here than I want, please give me, to I demand it, right? Energetically, demand and command is just like hitting the keyboard. There's a command. I mean, it's not egotistical. I'm just I'm making a connection that then transmits and receives what it is I'm choosing that I put in order. Right? All right, guys, this is where we'll stop off today. I will give you a quick preview of what we're coming into. We'll get back into the grids. We'll show you how the tarot can be applied to this grid. We'll get into the multidimensionals. We'll get into understanding what we've already, again, these slides look a little familiar. And then we'll get into understanding the basic grids. And then eventually I'll break down the dimensions in further detail and understanding the 3, 6, and 9. All right, guys? Well, that'll about do it. I appreciate you hanging in there. And I know it's a little long today, but I'm just going to quit saying that because it's just going to be between 15 and 20, 30 minutes. If that's a good time for you, let me know. If you want this broken down even more, I'll break it down into 2 videos. Or if you like the little 15-minute segments, 30 segments, or if you're fine with 45 minutes to an hour, just let me know. Leave a comment below. So I appreciate all you hanging out. If this is your first time, if you liked it, definitely like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you next time.